union statement. The end goal, to come up with a way to be able to count without having to make a list. Addition principle of counting. For every two sets, A and B, the number of items in A or B is equal to the number of items in A, added to the number of items in B, minus the number of items that are in A and B at the same time. Okay? So the number of items that are in A, added to the number of items that are in B, minus the number of items that are in A and B at the same time, will give you the number of items that are in A united with B. So let's look at an example of what that says. Now, this section that sits over here, this shared set, is not always going to be there. Two sets do not always share any common elements. If they do share common elements, then you've got to make sure not to count them more than one time. Give you a simple example of that. Here's set A. Here's set B. Two questions. What do A and B share? So A and B share, that would mean they would share the values of 2 and 4, correct? What if I asked you to take A and B and combine them? Union means dump them all into one big bowl. So if you dump them all into one big bowl, are all the items of A in the bowl? Are all the items in B also in the bowl?
Just 6.
But the only item we haven't accounted for is a 6. So think about what this definition says. What is the number of items that are in A? How many elements are in set A? 4. How many elements are in set B? But 4 plus 3 gives us 7. But we can see that there are only 5 there because some are shared items. So counting them more than one time would be saying that you're two different people. You can be a member of this class and you can be a member of another class, but you're still you. So you're not going to double count them. So these would be the items that are shared in the exercise. So this literally allows us to be able to say, I can just take the number of items that are here, add them to the number of items that are here, and then go back and look at the fact that the number of items that are in A and B at the same time is equal to 2. So 4 plus 3 minus 2 gives me 5 items, which is the number of items that are in A union B. You don't have to be able to physically count everything, but you do have to look for an overlap. Now, it's distinctly possible that there may not be any shared items. So, for example, if here is set P, and here is set Q, then what happens when I have P united with Q? I'm going to put them all together. Do I have any shared items? So how many items are part of set P? 3. How many items are part of set Q? And 3 plus 3, last time I checked, was 6. So I don't have any overlap. Just because you're thinking there might be overlap, that's one thing you always want to check for, because you don't want to double count in the problem. If two sets don't share any common items, then they're dealing with a situation which is a disjoint set. So an OR statement that we see in a word problem, an OR statement implies that we're dealing with a union operation. And if you have union, one of the things you have to be careful about is beware not to double count. Look for those common items because you'll be saying that there's more things that are there than actually are there. Now that means that you're only dealing with one entity. You're only trying to come up with one thing. I want this or this. Example, draw one card from a deck of cards. By the way, the author likes card problems. So since the author likes card problems, let's talk about that. I want to insert a blank page. Your author likes to use in his exercises elements that come from what's called a standard deck of cards. By the way, this information will appear on a test for you in case you forget. There are some people that don't know anything about cards. It's against their religion. I had a girl one semester that said, I don't have to do these problems because cards are against my religion. I said, so you believe that they're a tool of the devil, right? And she said, I do. I said, then I need you to be aware of where the temptation is so that when you see it, you will avoid it. You're doing cards. She just didn't want to do the work, but she did it eventually. So how many cards? 52 cards. Jacks are not part of the standard deck of cards. They were added when cards began being mass-produced to be replacing cards that got lost. So someone could say, oh, I lost the 2 of hearts, so I'll just put the 2 of hearts on this jack. And also, not because of playing poker where jacks or jokers are wild or something like that, okay? But anyway, so they're broken up into several different subsets, several different groupings. They can be broken up into color. What kind of colors?
Red, black.
Red, which would have 26, and black, which would have 26. They can be broken up into suits, specifically hearts, which have that lovely little heart emblem that I can't draw, meaning that there are 13 of them. Diamonds, which means that there are going to be 13 of those. Spades, which looks like a heart drawn upside down with a stem on it. I have no artistic ability. Which means there's 13 of those. And then we have clubs, which look something like that, which means we have 13 of those. None of the red cards share anything in common with the black cards. None of the hearts share anything in common with the red cards. Excuse me, they do too. They share anything in common with the red cards. Okay. None of the hearts share anything in common with the clubs or diamonds or whatnot. Other breakups. Face cards. At least one of the problems on an exercise somewhere talks about picture cards. A face card has a picture on it. So face cards, there are 3 in each suit. The king, the queen, and the jack. So in other words, there are 12 total cards that are face cards. And then there are numbered cards, also referred to as ranked cards, which include the ace, the 2, the 3, 4, blah, 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 up to 10. So there are 40 of those. When they start talking about cards, this is something that we need to be at least passively familiar with. Test question, it'll be right there at the top of the page where the formulas were for the first test question, reminding you what it's like. And there's also a pop-up that will occur when you open up a question that will remind you of what the composition of a deck of cards is. I've tried to